everyone, it's Nicole and I'm here with the third layout using the October kit, and I have a few sheets that are still full and I'm going to cut them apart and I'm going to do some layering. I don't have that many embellishments left. I used a ton of these embellishments because I absolutely love them. If you're a book lover, if you have kids that are in school, they're the perfect embellishments to put on layouts that are either about reading or, school layouts. As always, I'll have all the information in the description box below on my discount code, Nicole Jones 911, to get 10% off your order, and all the information about Cheeky Studio, where you can find them and all that good stuff, even their Facebook group. Okay, so while I put this page together, the normal thing, I'm going to mat my photo with the inside of my cardstock. I'm going to cut down some pattern papers to make a whole bunch of layering. I'm going to cut some books out of that pattern paper sheet that I absolutely love, that it's all books that are not colored in. And then I'm just going to put the page together. So while I do that, I've done quite a few layouts lately about reading books. I have a mini album that is all about all the books that I read this year. And because of that, I've had a few people ask me, like, how do you read so much? You talk about audiobooks. Do you listen more to books than you actually read? So I thought today I would talk a little bit about how I get so many books read and how to avoid reading slumps. And reading slump is like a scrap slump, right? You just don't have the mojo to want to scrap, or you just don't have the mojo to want to read something. Now, this is how I do it. I usually have between 3 and 5 books on the go. Now, right now, at this moment, I have 102 books read in 2018, and my goal was 85. So I've surpassed my goal. Now, I've checked, because I knew I wanted to do this video, how many of those were actually audiobooks. There is 10 or 11. So that means that 10% of the books that I read is audiobooks, and I don't think that's a lot. It's about, I usually only listen to one book a month. And another thing that I do, I figured out that there was at least 22 books that were on my Kindle. And I find I read much faster on my Kindle. I don't know, it's just, I read faster. And then the rest, which is like, close to 70 books or over 70 books, is all physical books. I still prefer reading physical books over regular or Kindle, or I love audiobooks, but the only time I listen to an audiobook is, when I'm cooking supper, or I started diamond painting. So now I listen to a chapter to a diamond painting. Now, the secret of how can I read so many books in a year? Well, one, just the fact that I have multiple books going on at the same time. If I start reading a book and I just don't feel it, then I can say to myself, well, today I read 25 pages out of that book, and then you can move on to something else, that maybe you're already more than halfway through it, and it has grabbed your attention. And by reading 25 pages of a new book and always starting new books, it makes it so that when I finish a book that I was reading, that I was really into, then I'm already maybe 100 pages in that other book. And then by that point, I'm into that book. I'm interested in that book. So then I go on to that book, and then maybe that book I'll read 100 pages from now, till I'm done. I'll read 100 pages a day in that book. I don't know if you're like me, but even when I finish a TV show and I have to start a new one, I find it so hard to start something new. And it's the same thing with reading. And that's why I have more than one book on the go, so that way by the time I finish the book that I'm totally in, I'm already invested in another story and I don't mind moving on. And it stops the slump too if that book ends on a bad cliffhanger or something devastating happens, you got something else to move on to. Another thing I do is, thick books, books that are massive. I don't start them in the middle of the month. I will start them at the beginning of the month. And then, for example, Lord of Shadows, I just finished Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. Now, I know I want to read Lord of Shadows immediately in November. I might start it towards the end of October, but it'll probably be like October 31st. I looked at it today and it has 29 chapters. So I know for the entire month of November, because there's 30 days, I got to read a chapter a day to finish that book at the end of the month. Now I have another gigantic book that I want to read in November. It's Tower of Dawn. It has 660 pages. So the same thing. I'll divide that one, the chapters are shorter. So that one I'll say, I'll need to read 25 pages a day in order, I haven't done the math yet, but for example, if it was 25 pages a day, and then every day I make sure to read 25 pages. And I choose one book that I read 100 pages. So I read between 150 to 200 pages a day. And you say, how do you do that? Well, one, I don't watch as many TV shows as I used to. I choose one TV show now that I watch, let's say on Netflix, and I'll just watch maybe 2 or 3 episodes a week, and that's it. I go to bed early every night, about 9 o'clock, and I read for an hour and a half. So a lot of my reading is done then. And also during the day, if I take a break, from scrapbooking or, doing laundry and all that kind of stuff, I'll come and sit on my chair and I'll read 50 pages in one of my books. So I guess if you want to read a whole bunch, you just have to prioritize reading as something that you want to do on a daily basis. And if you have, 20 minutes, half an hour, instead of, surfing Instagram or, being on Twitter or whatever the case may be, watching a TV show, I just make sure that I prioritize reading. And that's it. The layout is complete. I had so much fun with this October kit, and I'm kind of sad that I'm out of the embellishments, like I'm out of the ephemera from on the cover. And here are some pictures of close-ups of the layout. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. If you're enjoying these videos, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Bye.